So this is a meeting agenda template that's used by all central office staff and schools in the Kirkland School District. So I thought we would maybe do 2 rounds of noticings, perhaps starting with you, Candace, and then we can transition into 2 rounds of wonderings.
Okay. I noticed right at the top there is a section for different roles, including attendees, but also facilitator, note taker, and timekeeper.
I noticed there is some preparation before the meeting, or at least an option for preparation before the meeting, the part right above where it says schedule.
I noticed that there's a connection to the last meeting, so they have next steps from our previous meeting and plus deltas from our previous meeting.
I noticed that there are clear meeting objectives that are in the right underneath the topic, and there's 2 in this template.
And then building off of that, I also noticed the first activity is to review how the objectives of the meeting connect to our ongoing work.
I noticed that there is a column for the time, the actual time when something's going to happen, and then also a column for minutes, which I thought was interesting as a facilitator when I often get off if I'm just looking at the minutes. Anyway, so just a noticing, I thought that was very interesting.
Noticing, I think I might be jumping ahead to wondering, but connecting to what Sarah said, if the timekeeper has to keep track of those columns.
Okay, so
Should I jump ahead?
a little bit, but
lower on the.
I think there's still a few more noticing. So I mean, one other thing, I see that there's a clear reviewing next steps from this meeting, so that there's a place to put them, and then just at the end there's a plus delta, and then there's also a plus delta from the previous meeting.
And can I build on that?
Yeah.
Because I actually think it feels important to me, this fact that the review next steps and review the plus delta from the previous meeting all happen in this agenda before the new objectives get addressed. So I'm just noticing this order of how things are on the agenda.
Cool. Do we want to transition into some wonderings based on this?
Sure. Let's see. I wonder what the facilitator needs in order to know how the objectives of the meeting connect to the ongoing work.
Well, I'm really wondering just, I guess, strategies for keeping these beginning steps from taking over the meeting or taking too much time.
Right, that's
because while they're there and it gives them priority, it also gives the potential for them to expand.
I'm wondering about the plus deltas, if the deltas from the previous time, you read them out loud, but do they then change how the meeting goes? How are they incorporated into this agenda?
Kind of building on Candace's wondering, I'm curious, like, who is the facilitator? Who is the note taker? Is it the same person each time? Is the facilitator kind of like the boss or the one who kind of runs the show, or do they really just facilitate and that's it? So I think there's a question of like who's making the executive decisions in the end, and is it a rotating thing, or is it, you know, the person who's the principal or the person who's perhaps in charge?
Right. I have more wonderings.
You do? Do more.
Are we doing another, or are we doing a different round?
I think you should just jump in now since we've gone through a lot.
I guess I'm also wondering, we've probably all been in meetings where we do a plus delta and it feels a little procedural, you know, where people go through the motions. I wonder how we would make sure that the plus delta is really meaningful. You know, how, especially if you do it at every meeting, how we would make sure that people are really being honest about what's not working.
That connects to Molly's wondering about how the plus delta comes back in at the beginning. And if the facilitator, so my wondering is it also the role of the facilitator to talk about what did we change about this meeting that addressed our deltas, and is that part of the facilitator's role?
Right.
Yeah, and I wonder if people will be comfortable enough to say true deltas, you know, really acknowledge things that they need to change.
And that also has to do with then, or it relates to how much time is allotted for that review. Because if one of the deltas is, you know, an adaptive challenge, then, or something more complicated, we need more than just a 2-minute check-in. In fact, maybe that would end up being an objective.
All right, well, thank you guys all so much. I think we noticed and wondered some great things with this document.
Great.